Hey everybody, Pastor Tim Burnett here, back for part 4 of our series that we've been doing on King David. This week we are going to look at a temptation that David said no to. Next week we're going to look at the big temptation that David said yes to, which most everybody knows is the temptation, the affair he had with Bathsheba. But some of us may not be as familiar with the temptation that David encountered that he actually said no to. Here's the gist of it, all right, and then I'll give you a couple of thoughts of how we can apply that to our lives. David has been anointed as king, but he has not been crowned as king. That's the difference. Saul is still king. Well, Saul has put David in charge of some things, and everything that David does, he just seems to turn to gold. He can't do anything wrong, and so they go off to battle, and they come back from battle, and the women come out and they're singing. Hey, Saul's killed his thousands, but David has killed his tens of thousands, and this begins to really tick Saul off. He gets a little jealous about this. He's like, "What's going on? They're singing about him killing tens of thousands, and me only thousands, but I'm king." Basically, the Spirit of God leaves Saul. And there's a series of things that he does, which is pure disobedience, and he leaves Saul, and he's now on David. And David is going to be the king one day, and everything David touches turns to gold. And so Saul tries to kill him. So that's what's happening. Saul is after David. Matter of fact, he gets 3,000 of his best men just to hunt down David. He is so jealous of David. So David and his men are hiding out in a cave. I love the story. You can't make this stuff up. They're hiding out in a cave. It's called Engedi. It's the spring of the goats, and it's a great place to hide out because it's in cave. You're covered. It's got these natural water sources, and it's kind of high elevation, so you can see your enemy coming. Well, Saul finds out that he's there, and David and his men are crouched in this one cave hiding. And Saul, the king, decides to go to the bathroom, and he goes into the very same cave that David's in. And all of his men are like, "Listen, this is it, dude. You've got God is you're supposed to be king one day. God has delivered him to you." And what David does is quite interesting. He goes up and he cuts off the hem of the robe of because think about it. You got to go to the bathroom. He drops his robe. He's pretty vulnerable. David just cuts off the hem of the robe. Saul does his business. He leaves, and then after he's a good bit away, David yells out at him and it says, hey, listen, basically, look, I could have killed you today. I could have killed you, but I chose not to. Everything that you're hearing, all the lies you're believing about me, they're not true. Saul, I'm for you. I'm not against you. And I think this is just an interesting story. And there's several principles in life that we could get from this. I mean, one is we realize that people are always, in our lives, people are going to mistreat us. People are going to misunderstand us, like Saul chasing David. David didn't do anything wrong, but Saul was after him. And then I think just another principle is that there will always be times in our life, and I think all of us have enemies. Whether we want to or not, there are people that just don't like us, or maybe we've burned bridges or whatever. There's times where we could take advantage of our enemies, but doesn't mean we should, right? But there's times that we could definitely do that. And then I think also it's so easy to rationalize the temptations we're in. David's men, all these outside influences will say, do it, do it, do it. You've got it. This is yours. And it's easy to say, you know what? I deserve this. This is what I want. But David knew he could not touch God's anointed, and Saul was anointed as king. And David said, I'm not going to do it. And then I think a fourth principle that we need to understand is that when you walk with God, then you're going to know the things of God. You're going to desire the things of God. And that's what happened with David. David was able to know that he could not touch Saul, God's anointed one, because David was in a relationship with Saul. And so I think that here's 5 things. I'm going to tell you these and we'll go because our time's getting almost over here. But here's the first thing I want to say to you. 5 principles to live by based on this story. Every step toward temptation is a wrong step. All right, just remember that. Every step toward temptation is a wrong step. We'll look at that a little bit more next week when we talk about David and Bathsheba. But second thing is this. When you walk in integrity in the small things, you'll walk in integrity in the big things. David, yes, he could have gotten Saul, but he chose not to. And because of that, God blessed him. Think about that. Third principle I would say is this, is that a godly lifestyle is infectious. David's men are saying, get him, get him. David's saying, no, I'm not going to touch him. Let me tell you what, that influenced David's men. That influenced them. A godly lifestyle is contagious. I think the fourth thing is don't take advice from the world. A lot of people are telling you a lot of things. But again, if you're walking with God, you're going to desire the things of God. And then finally, you know what? I would say just live a life of forgiveness. This whole entire message or story could have been one on revenge. David, I mean, come on, he was falsely accused. Saul was chasing him, saying bad things about him. Here he was in a vulnerable position. David could have got revenge. But he said, no, I'm going to let God handle that. And so I just think that's a great lesson for all of us to learn. I love the story. Again, our video is a little longer this week, but maybe take some of these principles to heart. Who is it in your life right now that you feel like is an enemy, that maybe they're even saying some things about you that you know are not true? It's so easy to take revenge on them, but the Holy Spirit's whispering to you, love them anyway, forgive them. Let that be the challenge to us this week. God bless you guys, and we'll see you next week for part 5 for the temptation that David said yes to. Take care.